I'm going to share my screen. And our usual format of covering the laws and then doing 1 or 2 revision questions. And as usual, the revision questions, they're going to be interactive. Okay. So under Law 41, that covers fair and unfair play. The first subsection we're going to deal with is the match ball and changing the condition of the match ball. And we're going to cover what the playing condition say how to handle if both umpires are satisfied that the match, that the fielding side or can be the batters as well, change the condition of the match ball. Let's see how the playing condition tells us how to handle it. So again, just to confirm again, for the purpose of tonight's session, we're going to handle looking at the theory and how the playing condition states we need to handle if there is a if either the fielding side or the batters try to change the condition of the match ball. With regards to the practical application, that we will cover later on when I show you in the Almanak how the ICC guides us in exactly how to handle the subsections under Law 41. So importantly for the umpires to make frequent and irregular inspections of the ball. That's why we keep the ball at the full of the wicket. We look at the ball, um, lunch, tea interval. We keep the ball. Drinks interval. We keep the ball. Doesn't have to be only intervals or at fullers of wickets. At any time, you can actually ask the fielding side to show you the ball. So playing condition then state is an offence to change the condition of the ball. Um, this changing the condition of the ball covers both fielders and it includes the batters as well. I've never seen batters trying to change the condition of the ball, but the law covers uh, both. The law then tells us what is allowed and what is not allowed by a fielder. So it tells us the fielder is allowed to polish uh, the ball as long as no artificial substance is used. So law was revised. We used they used to allow saliva, but now the only non-artificial substance that can be used is sweat. Nothing else to be used. The fielder is allowed to remove mud from the ball. If there is some mud on the ball, they usually the players will come up to the umpire and in front of you, the umpire, they will remove the mud from the ball. And there are you also allow if there's maybe a bit of dew or rain, the grass is wet, and you'll allow the fielders. They usually use towels approved by the umpires. You need to it's a usual towel that they use. What the players do is they take those towels that they shower them in the dressing room. That you take a scissors and they cut it into smaller pieces. But it needs to be a usual piece. It doesn't have to be a towel, but I'm just saying what they practically use. But it should be a piece of cloth. And you've got all the right to examine that piece of cloth that is not maybe too abrasive. And if they do sign it, it may be because of the abrasiveness can maybe cause a bit of damage onto the ball. Again, we're covering what the playing conditions say, what the fielder is allowed to do with the ball. So if the umpires consider the ball has been unfairly changed, so importantly, umpires needs to together, they need to be in agreement Again, I'm not going to cover the practical portion, but you can see the law say umpire needs to together agree. If there's no agreement, do not apply this law. You both need to be 100% sure that there's been a changing of condition of the ball. Let's say by the fielding side. If any doubt, you can rather then speak to the captain, the fielding captain, and say, Captain, we are not happy with the condition of the ball. We're monitoring it. You're not saying anything. You're not saying it's changing. You're just making the captain aware that you are looking at them closely. So if there's no agreement, don't use words like I can see you. There's a changing of the condition of the ball, and don't accuse of anything. Don't charge of anything. If you're not 100% sure. And then again, we're going through the process of what the playing conditions say, and then it's the states now. The two umpires agree that there's been a change of the condition of the ball. They can ask the opposing captain whether they want the ball to be replaced or not. I can bet you 100% of the time they will definitely say yes, but you can ask. Now we get to the playing condition. So now you've identified that there's been, let's say, I'll use the fielding side as an example, that they've changed the condition of the ball. So now the playing condition breaks us up into two subsections. Firstly, tells us if it was possible to identify the responsible person of changing the condition of the ball. Let's say you saw the mid-off fielder with a bottle top in his or her hand, changing the condition of the ball. You saw it with your own eyes. If you can see it, then the law tells us you could identify the fielder that, let's use the fielding side as an example. You could identify the fielder, that you saw the fielder changing the condition of the ball. Now what happens is that you need to change that ball. You will ask the reserve umpire to come onto the field of play with the replacement balls. The batters at the wicket shall choose the replacement ball. So they'll go through the box, and the playing condition allows for even a new ball to be chosen by the batters. So in that spare balls, there will if and part of those in the box should also be a new ball, because the batters at the wicket has the option to choose a new ball as well, and it needs to be of the same brand. So this is when you could identify the player or players changing the condition of the ball. You could see who the culprit was. This is what the playing condition states, how you need to handle it. Batters at the wicket choose the replacement ball from a selection of 6 other balls of various degrees of usage, including a new ball. The last paragraph just handles if the batters unfairly change the condition of a ball, what should then happen? So now they just say, then the umpires to select a replacement ball, and the criteria that they must use is comparable wear and tear to the ball immediately prior to it being tampered with or try to be changed. Additionally, 5 penalty runs to the opposing side. So remember, we still under, you could identify the player that tried to change the condition of the ball. We're still under that subsection. So this is now additionally, you now allowed the batters to choose. You you allow the batters to choose. You from a selection of 6, including a new ball, you now additionally award 5 penalty runs. You'll inform everyone why you're doing what you're doing. Inform the batting captain as soon as possible, and then umpires to report the matter. So we've now covered if you actually caught or saw the player that tried to change the condition of the ball. The other section under this is where it is not possible to identify the player or players responsible for changing the condition of the ball. What you do then, you change the ball, but now when it's not possible to identify the player, the umpires to choose the replacement ball. And how do they decide on a replacement ball? They need to use the criteria similar, wear and tear, and same brand. Additionally, bowlers and umpire to tell the fielding captain, this is your first and final warning. If it should happen again, what will then be done is we will then, even if we can't identify a player responsible for changing the condition of the ball, you, the captain, will be held responsible for this contravention. And we will apply as if we like in that first subsection where we could identify a player. Sorry, that is how you will handle if it should happen again. We've now informed the captain, first and final warning. If it happens again, you'll be the player. So how will we handle it if it happens again? We'll call the captain. Captain, we've gave you first and final warning. Again, you now the responsible. You held responsible for this. So now we're going to call over the batters. We're going to ask the batters to choose from a selection of 6, including a new ball. We will 5 penalty runs to the batting side. We'll inform everyone and we'll report this matter. So that is how the playing condition handles changing the condition of the ball. It's divided into 2 subsections. The first one is when you can identify, you saw someone scratching, you saw you saw the culprit trying to change the condition of the ball. If that is the case, the batters at the wicket will choose the replacement ball from a selection of 6, including a new ball. 5 penalty runs to the batting side, and you will report and inform everyone. If it's not possible to identify, now it is the umpires to choose the replacement ball. The criteria they use is similar wear and tear and same brand. Bowlers and umpire to give the fielding captain, first and final warning, telling the captain, if there's a further, if we again find there's been a change of the condition of the ball, you would be the person responsible, and we will then give the appropriate sanction, which is batters to choose from a selection of 6, 5 penalty runs, inform everyone and report. Any questions on changing the condition of the ball according to the playing condition? Before I move on to this next subsection under Law 41.
Happy from my side.
Okay. Next subsection is a deliberate distraction, deception, or obstruction of the batter after the delivery of the ball. There are, under Law 41, there are 2 subsections. There's 41.4, which covers deliberate distraction of the batter before the delivery was bowled. 41.5, this one that we're covering, is deliberate distraction, deception, or obstruction of the batter after the ball was bowled already. So that's just the difference between the two. You can go read 41.4 on your own time, but if you want to know the difference, well, I'm telling you the difference is the ball was not delivered yet, and this one that we're covering, the ball has been delivered. So what does the law say? And this is one of those where the law and the playing conditions actually exactly the same. So there's no difference how you deal with this. There are some of these where the playing conditions do differ from the law, but this is not one of them. So the law start off by saying, or the playing condition, unfair for any fielder to willfully, and that's the important word that I want to bring across. It must be a willful attempt. If it's accidental in any way, don't apply this. It needs to be willful. Uh, and the best way to practically handle this is 4 set of eyes is better than 2. Call and signal dead ball. Go to your colleague. Go speak to him or her first. Discuss what you both saw. And if both in agreement that it was willful, then apply this. If you're not 100% sure, one differs. If there's doubt, it could maybe accident, maybe willful. Rather go with accidental. It's your call. But the point I'm trying to make is to apply this, you need to be an agreement that it was a willful attempt. So that's the first keyword. Second, it can either be by a word or an action. Doesn't have to be only a word or action. It's both. And this willful attempt was they wanted to distract, deceive, or obstruct either batter after the striker has received the ball. Just to reiterate what I was saying earlier, it's for either of the umpires to decide whether there's any distraction, deception, or obstruction was willful or not. But for me, the best is get together, discuss what you saw, and come to a decision. So if either umpires consider that a fielder has caused or attempted to cause a willful distraction, deception, or obstruction, call and signal dead ball immediately. Inform the other umpire for the reason for the call. Now, the playing condition says, if you're now happy that it was a willful attempt, neither batter shall be dismissed from this delivery. If any obstruction involves physical contact, you can even go under law 42. Law 42 is not part of the the exam, but they're saying if there is physical contact, there is under the code of conduct how you can deal with this. But I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it is covered under law 42. So what do you do? We now know you need to call and signal dead ball. We now know neither batter can be dismissed of this delivery. Furthermore, bowlers in umpire, if there was a snowball or wide, that's always stand. 5 penalty runs to the batting side. What else? You'll inform the fielding captain why you're doing what you're doing. And when possible, the batting captain. This ball do not count as one for the over. Further, any runs completed by the batters before the offence to be scored, including any runs for penalties. Furthermore, the run in progress shall also be scored, and it's irrelevant whether the batters crossed or not. You will give that run that they're busy with. So you'll give the completed runs and the run in progress. Later in our revision questions, we're going to do an actual example just to illustrate exactly how this law needs to be practically applied. But for now, let's just go through the theory. And then, and this is the only law in the playing conditions and in the law book where actually the batters at the wicket, they can decide who to face the next delivery, and then the umpires to report the matter to the governing body. So you can see there's a fairly, I wouldn't say harsh, but I mean it was a woeful attempt to distract. So I've got no sympathy for the fielding side, but you can see the punishment is quite severe. Call and signal dead ball. If there was a no ball or wide, it to apply. 5 penalty runs to go to the batting side. Ball not to count as one for the over. Any completed runs to be scored, including the run in progress. And it's irrelevant whether they crossed or not. That run to also count. And batters at the wicket to decide who faces the next delivery and report the matter to the governing body. So that is deliberate distraction, deception, or obstruction of the batter after the striker has received the delivery. Any questions on that subsection before I move over to dangerous and unfair non-pitching deliveries?
Yeah, Abdoellaah, from my side, I actually had it in a game where so just from the start you said there must be any action or word, willful action or word to distract or deceive the batter. Um, I had in a game where, let's say, for instance, there's a quick single or a quick two is being run. Um, they hesitate about the two, whether they should go or not. The one batter is down halfway down the pitch, but now let's say the bowler standing behind the stumps shouts, no, 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 no. But if he had continued, the batter would have crossed and made good his ground, but now he's in he's he's um he's confused whether that call is coming from his partner on the other end or is it just a bowler, but he's now confused. So will that be seen as a willful distraction um by the fielder?
No, that is where you and your colleague needs to decide. Taking the situation into account, you need to ask yourself, was the intent of the bowler to willfully try to deceive or distract one of the batters? Was the intent by this bowler to call no or whether yes? I've heard plenty in instances where they say yes, 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 but it's the fielder calling it and wanting to think it's actually the batter calling yes. You need to make that decision. What was the intent? Was it a willful attempt to deceive the batter in thinking the no call was to not run or the yes call was to run? That is your uh, call that you do, and you can consult your colleague if need be. You need to make that call. So you need to answer that question. You were there. Was that the intent? And if that was the intent, you need to apply this law.
It's difficult because the fielder can turn around and say and tell you, um, I was telling my fielder no for another run or yes, 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 give the ball to me.
Agree
So
100%. Agree
yeah,
100% with you. But it's your judgment call. You need to
mm,
make that call.
yeah, okay.
That's why I also consult, because if you two minds together, maybe you think it would your colleague might have a different viewpoint. So it's a judgment call, but you need to make that call. Was this a willful attempt? And if yes, and remember, this is a judgment call. There's two umpires sometimes looking at the same incident, uh, might have different viewpoints because your judgment looking at exactly the same, or your opinion looking at exactly the same thing, might be different. So Don't have an answer for you, but all I can tell you is you need to apply the law, and the law tell us, in your opinion, if there was a willful attempt to deceive the batter, you can apply 41.5. That's your judgment call. According to you, in your opinion, the bowler tried to deceive the batter by calling no. So I'm applying this, the this law, and you then follow the steps. That's why we're there. I mean, we are the sole judges of unfair and unfair play. Obviously, the fielding side is going to deny it. Uh, um, unless it's really you put out your foot to trip, there's some obvious ones that you you can't deny. But in these instances, yeah, they will definitely say they didn't, even though there are times where that was the case, but they're obviously not going to admit it. So yeah, Vampy, it's a judgment call. You need to make that call. Go and consult your colleague. And if you both feel that was the intent, it was willful, they were trying to deceive the batter, apply this law. No issue. They will
Okay.
moan and groan, but
Yeah.
that's your that's
Either
that's your
side will moan
opinion.
and groan.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
why we're the sole judges of a fair and unfair play, because we're not there. We subject or objective. We're not there to please out. We're just looking at situations. We've got laws and playing conditions to apply, and we apply it. We're not there to satisfy camps or bowling side or batting side, or they're going to be unhappy. That's why I'm going to do it or not going to do it. That's not how we just need to be objective, be fair, and apply what needs to be done. Yeah, sometimes yeah, we need to be strong enough and do what the game expects us to do. We shouldn't be shying away, and if big calls sometimes needs to be made, you need to make it, but you obviously need to have a law or playing condition to back you up. Um, if you are going to decide to make a call. Did I answer your question?
Yes. Thank you, Dula.
Okay. Next one is bowling of dangerous and unfair non-pitching deliveries or beamers or high full tosses. So any delivery which passes or would have passed on the full above waist height, striker standing upright at the popping crease is unfair, whether or not it's likely to inflict physical injury on the striker. If the bowler bowls such a delivery, umpire to call and signal no ball. So our criteria that we need to use is, firstly, any delivery, because a lot of time, um, sometimes fielding captains will say, "Yeah, it's a slow bowler. Doesn't matter. Any delivery, if it's above waist height and striker standing upright at the popping crease, so that's your judgment point. If the striker double steps, you don't judge it where the striker hits it, or whether it's 2 or 3 meters down the pitch. You need to make that judgment call. If the striker was standing upright at the popping crease, would the ball have been above waist height or not? If the answer to that question is yes, if the striker would have stood upright at the popping crease, the ball would have been above waist height. If the answer to that question is yes, you call and signal no ball. If the answer to that question is no, you don't call and signal no ball. Then the playing condition further states that when it comes to giving the bowler a warning, in your opinion, you need to consider whether it would have inflicted physical injury on the batter. If that is the case, you'll give the bowler his or her first and final warning. You'll inform the other umpire, captain of the fielding side, and the batters of what happened. this caution to apply throughout this innings. So to summarize these 2 points, any delivery, whether it's a fast bowler or a slow bowler, if it is above waist height, striker standing upright at the popping crease, that is your judgment call that you need to make. And again, here also it's a judgment call. Whether you call it, you're going to find or not call it, there's going to be an unlucky, not unlucky, an unhappy party. So if you call it, the bowler and the captain, fielding captain's going to moan and groan. If you don't call it, the batter's going to moan and groan. But you're not there to please anyone. You need to make your call, and the criteria to use is above waist height, striker standing upright at the popping crease. I had a case where the slow bowler loopy ball, and on its way down, and it went past shoulder height when the batter was standing upright at the popping crease. But if you can just visualize the ball, loopy ball coming down, the trajectory is now coming down. So when past, let's say chest height, batter standing upright at the popping crease, but because the trajectory was down going, it actually took off the bails. So now I can imagine. So what happened? I called and signal no ball. The fielding side was up in arms because they were saying, yeah, but the batter's bowled. That's not one of the criteria that needs to be used when applying this law. What is the criteria that you need to use? Batter standing upright at the popping crease. Was the ball above waist height? That's the criteria to use. Not if the batter's bowled, you then call it. If it's not bowled, you call it. No. Criteria to use: above waist, batter standing upright at the popping crease. So, my opinion, that ball, yes, it was on its way down, but with the batter standing upright at the popping crease, it was about chest height, which was above waist height. And hence, I called that signal no ball. So that's the first part. And then the second part, if it's directed at the batter, you give a first and final warning. If it's wide of the batter, and it's above waist height, you'll only call and signal no ball. You won't give a warning. Only if it's at the batter, you call no ball and give a warning. If it's not at the batter, don't call. Call no ball, but don't give a first and final warning. So that's the first instance in that innings that it happens. And what happens if it happens again in that same innings? Let's say it's the first innings of the game. So if it happens again in the first innings, that same bowler, you will again call and signal no ball. But now, when the ball is dead, you'll tell the captain of the fielding side to suspend the bowler immediately. You'll inform the other umpire, and that bowler will not be allowed to bowl again in that particular innings. But importantly, what I want to bring out to your attention, and I mentioned it in the previous slide, you only give warnings if the ball was directed at the batter. If it's not directed at the batter, you'll just call and signal no ball. So in the scenario where it happened the first time, let's say it happened in over number 5. It's now above waist height, batter standing upright at the popping crease, and it was at the batter. You call and signal no ball. And you give a warning because it was at the batter. Now in over 9, same bowler bowls again in the first example. Again above waist height, batter standing upright at the popping crease, and again directed at the batter. In this case, because the bowler is already on the first and final, it now happened a second time directed at the batter, you'll now ask the fielding side captain to suspend the bowler, or you'll take the bowler out of the attack. That's the first example. In a second example, let's say the bowler is on the first and final warning because the first instance, it was directed at the batter and it was above waist height. But now in over 9, the same bowler bowls again a ball above waist height, but now it was wide of the batter. So in this instance, you'll call and signal no ball because it's above waist height, but you will now not remove the bowler from the attack. Because yes, it is above waist height, but it was wide of the batter. It was not directed at the batter. Hence, you'll only call no ball and no need to remove the bowler from the attack. And then the playing conditions just go further. So if you do this, if it was a second above waist, second ball above waist height of same bowler, same innings, directed at the batter, you now remove the bowler, the over to be completed by another bowler who didn't bowl the previous over, nor is he allowed to bowl the next over, and then inform everyone and then report. Any questions on non-pitching deliveries above waist height?
Yeah, it's me again, Dula. So I understand it correctly in terms of you can call a no ball, and you should call a no ball if it's any type of bowler bowling any type of speed and the ball is above the waist. That's fine. But now when it comes to the issuing a warning, if you go back to, I think it's slide 11, where it states it would have caused physical injury, judging by the speed of the delivery as well. I think it's just the previous one, Abdoellaah. So yeah, so likely to inflict physical injury on the batter by its speed and direction. So just using your example, with the, I take it was a slower bowler, a spinner with a loopy delivery. Would you still judge that to inflict physical damage, even though it was such a slow delivery?
So yes, the playing condition states needs to inflict physical injury. So now what happened in the past was there was huge inconsistency in the application of this, because you can imagine for some umpires viewing, they would say, I think this would have inflicted, I think this wouldn't have inflicted. Now you bring interpretation into it, and umpire's opinion. So there was huge inconsistency in how this was handled, because two people looking at the same incident, for one it might, the other it might not. So just in terms of then consistency, uh, or applying this playing condition consistently, yeah, it was decided that all you need to take into account is, was the ball above waist height and was it directed at the batter, whether it's a slow bowler or a spin bowler. Because if you're going to bring in an opinion whether it was inflict physical injury or not, you wouldn't really know. Different umpires would think differently. So to answer your question, it was then decided to get consistency on this rule, or applying this playing condition. All you then need to take into account is, was it above waist height? Was it directed at the batter? Whether it's a slow bowler or fast bowler, that's all you need to take into account. If the answer is yes, it was above waist height, yes, it was directed at the batter, give a first and final, whether it's a spin bowler or a fast bowler. That was just to get consistency into the application of this, because we saw in the past, including myself, where I'll call it a certain way from my end, my colleague will call it a certain way from his or her end, and captains were up in arms, not just at our level, but at the international level as well, in how this are being applied on the field. Umpires applying this differently in the same game, in the same over. Two ball, one you call, then they'll say, yeah, but that ball was exactly similar. Now you're handling it differently. But then they say, yeah, but in the second time I saw it slightly different. But it looked for me the same. It just caused so much uh, uh, um, um, niggle. I
Ambig
can't. Yeah, I can't.
ambiguity. Was
Yeah,
it?
on
No?
yes. Yeah, because it happened. Like same
Mm,
over. Now to them it looked the same. Now it's just saying, yeah, but the first one, let's say the first ball of the over, we didn't think it was physical injury. Now the third ball, we think this is physical injury. Now we want to give
yeah,
a warning. But now according to them, but it looked to us exactly the same.
yeah.
And
No, it
yeah,
makes
so
sense. Mm,
that's just now there's now no issue. And also, how we also dealt with this in the past was, if it was a spinner, we would leave it because we used to say, "Ah, it's a spinner bowling, surely." But then the experience, but you get spinners bowling those quicker 110, 120 k's per hour, arm balls. So now again, now there was inconsistency. So now they just decided just to for consistency purposes, and now going forward it's so much better because now everyone knows whether it's a spinner or fast bowler, if it's above waist height we're going to call it, and if it's directed at the batter we're giving a first and final. No, that's full stop. That's the criteria. Everyone knows it, everyone's happy. So if you give a spinner a warning, no boos and bars, because they know that is how it's being applied. And yeah, it's applying it this way. Yeah, I know if you read technically what the playing condition, the wording in there is saying, and we're not really applying it, but I'm just saying from a consistency point of view, the application was that we're applying it now slightly different.
yeah, that makes 100% sense to me. And then just a add on to my previous question is, does the same principle apply um, in terms of when a batter moves before, after the normal point of release? Does the same rule apply for, let's say, for instance, the wide ruling and judgment, that if the bowler delivered and the batter then moves into the line of the ball, would you um, only call no ball for waist height, but not issue a warning necessarily,
Yeah,
because the batter has now moved into the line, or do you still stick with
yeah,
the
yeah, it's not.
issuing a warning?
Yeah, I would say just for consistency, at least just for consistency. If it's directed at, I hear what you're saying, but you're opening yourself up here for to apply this, to apply this not consistent. So just for consistency, if it's at the batter, they're saying batters can't create a wide, or they can't create, a noble. You just, if it's at the batter, you and the fielding captain or bowler do ask you, all you say is, if it's at the batter, I'm giving a first and final. They can argue, yeah, but you just stick to, that's how I applied it. It was at, full stop. It does help you just applying it, getting consistency into
Mm.
your, if you're
And
now going to start applying, yeah, but he was moving across, that's why I didn't call it now. Then a few balls later, now he didn't, now you don't call it. Now you're going to say, yeah, but the batter didn't move over enough. Now you're opening yourself um for a bit of criticism.
no,
But I see
100%.
your point, and I hear you, but yeah, just for consistency purposes, and if you stick to it, and yes, they will moan and groan. They moan and groan even if they better don't move in your bowler. They'll still moan and groan. It's just how they is. You just call what you see, you stick with it, and yeah, they will just have to live with it.
Happy. It just makes it a lot simpler on our side,
It does
definitely.
make it a lot
Mm.
simpler because yeah, happy. Emmanuel. Okay, the next one. Bowling of deliberate front foot no balls. I haven't had this before, but it's part of the law, so must have happened on many occasions for the lawmakers to actually put this um, in the law. So again, bowler, if you, the umpire, the bowlers in umpire, is happy that the bowler delivered a deliberate front foot no ball, what do? Call and signal no ball. When the ball is dead, you tell the captain you need to suspend this bowler. He's not bowling again in this innings. You'll inform everyone and you'll report this. So yeah, fairly, in your opinion, it was a deliberate front foot no ball. Again, there's all they're saying is, in your judgment, it must be deliberate. So now it again subjective. It can differ from umpire to umpire. So what is deliberate? How far must that foot now be over the line? Again, yeah, that's a judgment call. You would have seen this bowler ball after ball. So you more or less know where that front foot is landing. Suddenly you see that front foot being way over. Yeah, sometimes a bowler overstretched, but this is now really being way over to what you see normally bowls. And also, if you think of the reason why a bowler would want to bowl a deliberate front foot no ball, is to get closer to the batter, to get to bowl a bit quicker, to bowl maybe a quicker bouncer, and sometimes preceding that maybe could be a bit of niggle. So there is a bit sometimes signs that a bowler clues that you can take into account if before making this judgment call whether this front foot noble was deliberate or not. Maybe there's a bit of niggle and the bowler lands so far over what to where he or she used to land. Those are the signs that you can take into account before making the score. But if in your opinion it does, call a signal noble, tell the captain to remove the bowler. Bowler inform everyone. Bowler to ball over to be completed by another bowler and report. Any questions on this? I'll move on now to time wasting. And again, I'm going to cover what the playing condition states because there is a difference in this law, how the law covers or how the law handles time wasting and how the playing condition handles time wasting. We're going to cover, and for exam purposes, you need to apply how the playing condition covers time wasting by the fielding side. So playing condition tell us it's unfair for the fielder to waste time. So if either umpire considers that this over is unnecessary slow or time being wasted in any way by the captain or any member of the fielding side, what do you do in the first instance? You call and signal dead ball, inform the other umpire of what has occurred, bowlers in umpire then to warn the captain of the fielding side, indicate this is a first and final warning. Again, I'll show you later on in the Almanak. There are, before moving on to applying this practically, there is one or two steps that you do need to follow. Also, the match situation you also need to take into account. Let's say it's the first over of a match. So, I don't think in the first over of a test match, yes, maybe the over might be slow, but I don't think the fielding side would try to waste time in the first over of a test match or on the first day of a test match. So in the almanac, they do cover those things, but all we're focusing on now is, and for exam purposes, if this happens, what does the playing condition say? How we need to deal with it? What did they say? Call and signal dead ball. Give the captain of the fielding side first and final warning. Inform the batters, and then again in that same innings, if there's further wasted of time by any member of the fielding side, what do you then do? Call and signal dead ball. Inform the other umpire. 5 penalty runs to the batting side. Inform everyone and report. So Just to summarize, when it comes to time wasting, you'll firstly give a first and final to the captain. And then if it happens again in that innings, 5 penalty runs to the captain of 5 penalty runs to the batting side and inform everyone. So we've now covered what happens if the batters are wasting time. Oh, sorry, we covered what happens if the fielders waste time. What do we do if batters waste time? So again, the law says it's unfair for the batters to waste time. Usually, the striker should be ready when the bowler is ready for his or her run-up. Again, this is a playing condition. They want the incoming batter to take guard within 2 minutes of the fall of the previous wicket. So now they're saying, should either batter waste time by failing to meet this requirement? What do you do the first time? Warn both batters and indicate this is a first and final warning. This warning to apply throughout the innings, and this is a team warning. So as a batter is dismissed and a new batter come in, you as the umpire need to inform the incoming batter. Your team is on a first and final for time wasting. Inform the other umpire of what has occurred. So this is if it happens the first time, you give a first and final. Inform the captain of the fielding side of what has happened, and when possible, captain of the batting side. So what do we do if it happens again in that innings? Now you'll award 5 penalty runs to the fielding side. You'll inform the other umpire, inform the batters, the captain of the fielding side and captain of the batting side when practicable, and you'll report this to the governing body. Any questions on batters and fielders wasting time? Last law that I'm covering for this evening before we go on to the revision question. So bowlers running in the protected area. What do you do? Law tells us it's unfair for the bowler to run in the protected area in his or her follow through without a reasonable cause. In the first instance, what do? You caution the bowler, inform the other umpire of what has occurred. This caution to apply throughout this particular innings. So that happens in the first instance. What happens if you'll inform everyone? So in that same innings, what happens if it happens again? You then give a final warning. You'll tell the bowler and you'll tell the captain, the fielding captain. So what happens if it happens the third time? You now tell the fielding captain to suspend this bowler over to be completed by another bowler who didn't bowl the previous over nor is allowed to bowl the next over. You'll inform everyone and you'll report. Again, we're just focusing on what the laws say and how we handle it. Practically, and we'll get to it on some other day. But for exam purposes, I just want to focus on how we deal with if a bowler runs in, if batter or fielding side wastes time, etc., etc. Any questions on bowler running in? Let's move over to the revision questions. And this is going to be interactive. So I'm opening the floor. First question. So when answering these questions as well as in the exam, first thing is try to visualize the scenario. Read what they tell you, visualize it, and break it up into smaller portions. So yes, you can read it the first time, read it in its entirety. But when you read it the second time, break it up into smaller pieces and visualize, because by visualizing, it helps you to to see what is happening and then to apply the correct law or, in this answer. Also, in answering these questions, especially next week when we do the dismissal questions, but I'm giving you a heads up now already. If you do see balls, any mention about balls or times or close to lunch or to in let's say they tell you in this question, we'll go into a bit more detail next week when we do those dismissal questions, and when you'll see in the questions when they do give you extra information, they want to get full marks for the answer. If they speak about on the third ball of the over, the striker hits a leg side delivery to the position 5 meter. So they're telling you which ball it was. So now in your answer, you then need to put down how many balls are left in the over to get full marks. So part of your answer should be there are 3 balls left in the over, or there are 2 balls left in the over, whatever the case may be. I'm just giving you a heads up, especially once we start we're doing our dismissals questions next week. But even in these questions, you'll see in the next one as well, when they, especially if they give you balls and additional information, you need to many a times comment on that additional information in your answer. But we'll get there. So now visualize. Close your eyes and say the striker hits a leg side delivery 5 meters in front of square. The striker now calls for a quick single. The batters complete the first one. Now they take a second one. So as they turn for the second one, what does the short leg fielder do? Put out his or her foot. The striker then trips and falls to the ground. Now the mid-wicket fielder picks up the ball, throws it at the keeper's end, and the strikers run out. What happens next? I'm opening the floor. Visualize this. And now first tell me, which law are we going to apply here?
Can I go, guys?
Yeah, anyone can go.
All right. So I'll be applying the deliberate attempt or willful action to distract or now lost the wording.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean, but
To
you're
distract or
100% right.
obstruct the batter. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly which one to apply. Okay, so let's go through. So now in answering this, so you've now identified which to apply. Now you need to put down all the points that needs to be done. You don't need to quote the law verbatim, but you need to dot down whether you can number it, whether you want to put it in bullet form. You can put it in your own words, but as long as whoever's marking your paper can see, okay, it's in his or her own words, but he knows exactly, or he or she knows exactly what they're trying to say. So yeah, you've identified it. So what's the first thing that we do?
So
What's the first thing that we write down?
You need to determine was there a willful act to distract or obstruct the batter?
Okay, yeah, so you can call and signal dead ball. So you can go to your colleague and chat about this, because now you're right. You need to be 100% sure, applying this, that what it was willful. Sometimes this happens quickly, and sometimes you're still getting into position, and sometimes your colleague has strikers and maybe been in a better position. Yeah, you should always be aware. You should be looking and be vigilant what's going on in the field. But sometimes your colleague can be in a better position to assist you. Yeah. Next. So now you're going to discuss, was this a willful attempt by the fielder to either distract, deceive, or obstruct? So now they give you 3 words. So it can be obstruct. So in this case, it is obstruct because the fielder put the foot out. It can be to distract, or it can sometimes be to deceive the either of the batters by a call. So you go and discuss, was this willful? It was definitely in this scenario willful. Short leg fielder putting out a foot to poetry the batter. Now the law, what does the law say? The first thing, neither batter to be dismissed from this delivery. And if you see, look at the question, the last sentence, they say there's an appeal. So always in your answer, you should answer the question. So that's why I'm answering the question, not out. And because we decided this was willful, the law tells us neither batter shall be dismissed from this delivery. Then additionally, what must the bowlers in umpire do? 5 penalty runs to the batting side. So how I'm answering this question is, I'm visualizing that I'm on the field of play and what I'll be doing when I'm on the field of play. So if this had to happen on the field of play, so I'm covering both how the law or the playing condition tell us how to handle it, but I'm also bringing in a bit of umpiring craft, how I will handle this. So if this had to happen, that first bullet point, I would call a signal dead ball and go to my colleague. Discuss. We're happy that it was willful. Now the law tell us neither batter to be dismissed from that delivery. We're happy. We'll answer the appeal. It will be not out because the law tell us neither batter to be dismissed. And then the law also say we need to give 5 penalty runs to the batting side. Practically, how will I handle it? I will then signal these 5 penalty runs to the scorers and I will wait for them to acknowledge. Then the law also tell us you need to inform the captain of the fielding side of this, and you need to inform the captain of the batting side when practicable. Then the law also tell us ball not to count as 1 for the over. Then the law also tell us any runs completed by the batter before the offence to be scored, together with any penalties to either side, and the run in progress also to be scored whether the batters crossed or not at the instant of the offence. Yes, I am quoting the law or in the playing condition verbatim. You don't have to. As long as you do need to write all the points, but you don't need to quote verbatim. You didn't need to put, you can put all the runs completed to be scored. And the batting side will get the run that they were busy running. Even though they didn't cross, they will also get that run. I just use now my own words, but putting that down, the person that's marking your script will know exactly what you mean. You do not have to quote verbatim, but you at least you need um, to write down and explain what needs to be done in your own words. And then the law goes further by saying batters at the wicket to decide who faced the next delivery. And then report the incident to the governing body. So just to summarize how to handle this, picture as if you're on the field of play, answer it how you'll handle it, but also you need to write down all the points that the playing condition tell us what we need to do to cover to answer this. Any questions? And lastly, we need to also inform, and again, this is for a point, So if we look at the scenario, we need to add in our answer how many runs were scored. So if we look at the scenario, if I go back to the scenario, they say the striker calls for a single as the batters turn for the second. So we know if they turn for the second, they completed 1 run. So now they're busy with the second run. Now the fielder puts it, the striker. So we know the one that they completed counts. They're busy with the second. We also know that the second also counts because the law tells us, if we look at the second bullet point on this page, it tells us that additionally the run in progress also to be scored, and it's irrelevant whether the batters crossed or not. So now we know the batters completed 1 run. The second run was in progress, hence that run to also count. So the total runs for this will be 7. And how did I get 7? I know I must give 5 penalty runs to the batting side. I know we add the 1 run that was completed, and we need to add the run in progress. So 5 plus 1 plus 1 gives me 7. And you don't have to add this last bullet point. You can write down the time, over and ball, and you can check at the next interval with the scorers that they've inserted 7 in their book, because just to make double sure.
Abdoellaah, would you recommend us showing obviously the 5 penalty runs, but then at the end of all, just to re-signal the 7 to the scorers?
Yeah, by any means how you can get your number across. I would say, yeah, 7 to the scorers. At provincial level, it's easy because you do have a radio, and you can radio it in. Your games do have a match ref who is in contact with the scorers. They can then just double check. If this was a club game, yeah, we can signal the 5 penalty runs. You can show them 7, but I'll definitely make sure, even at provincial level, that they've recorded 7. Any other question? Last question for the day. Before I open the floor for Q&A, and then I'm also going to show you after the Q&A session in the Almanak the practical advice that the ICC give us how to handle certain instances under Law 41. So now in this question, you can already see they give you a bit of information. They tell you it is the 3rd ball of the 6th over of day 1 of a 3-day game. And the fast bowler bowls a full toss, and they tell you it's directed at the striker, and it was above waist height. The striker then hit the ball to fine leg boundary for 4. So explain your actions, if any. So if they give you these type of details, they tell you the 3rd ball. I can tell you now, you need to tell them how many balls are left in the over. If they tell you it's a boundary 4, you need to always give total runs. So from this ball, they also want total runs in your answer. So, okay, I'm opening the floor here. How will you handle this?
Okay, can I go?
Yes, the floor is
So,
yours.
firstly, they give you all of the information, but you get some help with your partner standing at square leg. So, because it's above waist height with the striker standing upright, it will be a no ball. So you'll call in signal no ball. And then also it was a 4, so you signal 4 runs as well.
Mm-hmm.
You'll caution the bowler. It was directed to the body, so it will be a first and final warning.
Mm-hmm.
And then inform your partner and the captain and the batters of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then that caution shall apply throughout the innings.
Mm-hmm.
Then free it. I'm not sure if I missed something.
Anyone wants to add anything?
Except the third ball. There's still 3 balls left.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So then the boundary fall and then the no ball. So it's 5 runs.
Keegan Bumpy, did she cover everything?
She covered everything that I would have done.
Yeah. So call and signal no ball, and then that's your reason. Why are you calling no ball? It's ball without pitching. Again, you don't need to quote verbatim. You can just say it was a ball without pitching. It was above waist height. Striker standing upright at the popping crease. So when the ball is dead, you'll caution the bowler, say first and final. You'll inform the other umpire, captain of the fielding side, and captain of the batter. This warning to apply throughout the innings. You'll signal no ball to the scorers, and you'll wait for acknowledgement. And you'll signal boundary 4 to the scorer, and you'll wait for acknowledgement. And how many balls left in the over? Remember, they say this was the third ball that this happened. So if this happened with the third ball, how many balls are left in the over?
3.
Okay, 4 balls. 4 balls.
No, if this was the third ball. Well, yeah, sorry, ek's met julle. It's confusing, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. But are you in agreement that there are 4 balls left in the over?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a full answer. Yeah, that's all that I'm covering this evening. Under Law 41. So just to summarize how to answer this, visualize the question, break it up into smaller pieces, put it in your own words. You do not have to quote the law verbatim. If they do speak about balls left, balls the ball that was bowled, always say how many balls left in the over. You need to say how many runs was scored off this particular delivery, and you need to tell what the laws say. Are you going to deal with this like with that with the deliberate obstruction? So you need to go call and signal dead ball. It was a willful attempt by the fielder to obstruct the batter, and need the batter to be dismissed from the delivery. 5 penalty runs to the batting side. Runs completed to be scored, including the run the run that they were busy with. And it's irrelevant whether they crossed or not. Again, as you can see, I'm using my own words, but as long as whoever's marking your paper can just follow what you're trying to say. Don't need to quote verbatim. Batters at the wicket decide who faces the next delivery. Inform everyone. Report this. Total runs to be scored is 7. How did I get 7? 5 for the penalty, 5 penalty runs, 1 for the run that was completed, 1 for the run that they were busy with, even though they didn't cross, but the laws say that run will also count. That's how I got 7 in total. And let's say this was the 5th ball of the over. Now the law also say the ball not to count as 1 for the over. So now we know if this was the 5th ball, so then there are still 2 balls left in the over. So yeah, that's how you answer it. Next week, once we do the um, start doing those dismissals questions, you'll see how oh, I lost my uh, train of thought. But yeah, once we start doing those dismissal questions, yeah, you'll see how to visualize and how to break it up and how to practically answer the question if you're like on the field of play, and also showing how the law will handle it. That is my portion for tonight's session. I'm now opening the floor for Q&A, questions, comments, and after the Q&A session, I'm going to show you show you the Almanak, where the ICC show and guide us how to practically handle one or two sections under Law 41. The floor is now open.
I don't have any questions, Dula.
Yeah, if there's no, I mean, if you can't think of any questions now, I mean, maybe later on you can think of any. You can, mail me, phone me, whatever. I haven't heard Keegan's voice. Is Keegan nog met ons? Keek, zit jy hier?
Ek is in 'n meeting, ja.
Okay. So if there's no further comments or questions on tonight's lecture, what I'll do is I'm sharing my screen and I'm going to show you. This is the latest test Almanak. And you can see here under Law 41, the match ball changing its condition. You can see where the Almanak gives us guidance on how to handle it practically. It tells us there is a difference between the law where here you'll have to distinguish between did you see the player, didn't you see the player. There's no removing bowlers from the attack, and it just elaborate how to handle the playing conditions. It gives you points to remember. It tells you both umpires must agree on any action taken. If there's no agreement, just leave it status quo to remain. Again, they'll just tell you it is stressed that umpires needs to be firmly of the view that the condition of the ball has been altered unnaturally, and there's physical evidence, because if you do going to apply this law, that ball is going to go, there's going to be a hearing. They're going to send the ball back they're going to send the ball for testing. So yeah, you need to be 100% sure before applying this. The point I'm just trying to make is in the Almanak, in your latest Almanak, you should all have a copy. They do give you guidance. I gave you, when we did an example of deliberate distraction, obstruction of a batter, I gave you a fairly obvious one where the fielder, a Poiki, the striker. Another example that the ICC put in the Almanak is mock fielding is also a way, and that's where you try to deceive the batter from taking an additional run. So they point out that if there is mock fielding, this is a deception by the fielder, and the intention is to try to prevent an additional run. You need to apply this law 41. 41.5. So they say us, they give us a directive. They tell us if in the opinion of the umpire there was this mock fielding, so the fielder has mocked so his intention was to deceive the batters and to prevent the batters from taking another run. You apply 41.5. So go read through the almanac. Read through your latest almanac. There's lots of information in here that how to practically handle this. You'll see also short pitch deliveries. I'm not going to go through everyone. Just the point I'm trying to make is there's lots of how guidance on how to practically handle this. Time wasting by the fielding side. There's also here in the appendices. They do have field management guidelines. They have ball management guidelines. So if I can go there, just give me a second. I'll go there now. Where they give you ball management, guidelines, where they speak about throwing and scuffing the ball. You need to watch the players throwing the ball on the bounce in the circle. That should not be allowed unless they're trying to a genuine attempt for a run out. They're deliberately throwing the ball into the ground on the square or immediate surrounding areas. I'm not going to go through all this, but these guidelines at the ICC, they tell you when it comes to polishing the ball, what is allowed, what is not allowed. Yeah, so there's lots of information here that can what umpires needs to do, what you need to look out for, how you need to handle it. There's also in terms of time management guidelines that they give you. They'll say both teams to be ready. Here's the guidelines. They say both teams. They'll give you time management guidelines for the bowling team, the batting team. I'm not going to go through all of this. Just the point I'm trying to make is read your almanac. You should be reading your almanac lots of times. It helped me over the years in my interpretation of many of the playing conditions. So it is an absolutely vital document to read. It helps with the interpretation. It helps you to, it guides you how to handle certain issues, how not to handle, what to say, what not to say. It's a really very important document. I cannot emphasize it enough. Any comments, questions?
Can you please send us the updated almanac? The latest one I have is the one from June last year.
I'll send it to you. I'll send the latest ones as well as tonight's slides to you after our session tonight. Any further questions, comments? If not, I'll end tonight's session. If you have any questions, feel free to to ask me via WhatsApp. You can mail me at any time, and I'll gladly assist.